The views and opinions expressed on this podcast, including discussions on news, politics, and current events, are solely those of the host and guests and are based on personal thoughts, experiences, and opinions. Nothing stated should be considered factual unless independently verified by the listener. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and does not provide financial, legal, medical, political, or life advice. Any actions discussed are what we would do personally, not recommendations for others. Listeners are encouraged to do their own research and consult qualified professionals before making any decisions.
You gotta hate it in here.
You know what I'm saying?
You gotta hate it in here.
It's only right. It's only right.
Don't nobody care about Lebanon James.
LeBron James.
Lebanon James.
Lebanon.
What up, y'all? What's going on? Welcome. We are back with another episode of Ford Social Conversations. Well, we talk about a lot of things, but not everything, because everything don't need to be talked about. What's going on? I got my fellas here. I got Donovan.
Yeah. What up?
Red.
What's going on?
And Mike.
What up?
Yeah, we got a couple things we talking about. Of course, we're talking about the Nolan Wells case. That's the hot topic. Everybody's talking about what's going on. Is it racism? Is it just him hanging out with his friends? Everybody don't know all the details, but everybody's speculating. So let's get to speculating. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on?
Yeah. How was y'all week? Let's start with that. How was y'all week?
Good, man. Good. Getting ready for this baby to be here. You know what I mean? Just wife is nesting, and it was great, relaxing, and feel the work at the same time.
Those were some good old days for me, boy, waiting on the baby to come.
Quiet before the storm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting settled back in from a week. I took an excursion last week, man. I was in the mountains the whole week. Visited Cherokee for the first time. Stayed out there a couple of nights, and then it was a spiritual retreat on the second half of the week or whatever. So got to unplug and let go of the hustle and bustle of everyday life in the bull.
For a week?
For a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a little break right there.
Yeah, man.
That's nice. It's beautiful out there, too.
Yeah, it is. It really is, man.
People sleep on the mountains in North Carolina.
Not me.
Yeah.
I love being up there. The air is a little easier to breathe for me too, man. It's cleaner, fresher air. I was in Lake Junaluska. I put in a plug for Lake Junaluska if anybody don't know about that. It's a little serene place that the Methodists own out there. So
It's nice.
check it out.
From out there, or the foothills of the mountains. So
Okay.
I've been up Cherokee a couple times.
Okay. That's what's up.
Yeah, he'd be out there bear hunting.
Yeah, right.
That's what
Yeah,
we do.
right.
So-
I mean,
Let's get to talking about this Nolan Wells case. There's a lot of things going on with it. Saying some things. TMZ put out some audio of, I guess, the boat going down and one of the guys calling in. So, yeah, let's talk about it.
My understanding, he wasn't even on the boat on the way back, right? He decided he wanted to stay where they was at. He had a female friend, and this is what they say. He had a female friend, and he chose not to.
Pull your mic up to you.
He chose not to, go back with his friends. So I don't know how true that is. How y'all feel about that?
I mean, I think we should kind of try to recap as best we can what happened, right? So 4th of July,
Right.
they got a group of friends, put that in air quotes because I don't really know how friendly they were or not, but
Right.
they go to this island where they were partying.
It was Horn Island.
Horn Island
Yeah,
in
okay.
Mississippi, and apparently it wasn't like just one boat with that group with Nolan. They said it was like thousands of kids out there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Partying on the 4th, and he did not come back with them, left his phone on the boat, and then from what I understood, his mom reached out to one of the boat kids' mom, like, where is he at? Then they found out that he was missing. They found his body. He was face down, and they're still running autopsy. They still haven't gotten all the autopsy results back yet. From my understanding, the results came back inconclusive, whether there was foul play or not. which doesn't mean that there isn't, but it just means that it's not conclusive yet.
Now, from my understanding, I found out that he gave his phone to one of his friends.
Yeah.
Besides, not leaving it on the boat. That was one thing. And then I also understood that with the autopsy, I think, what's his name, Colin Kaepernick, he paid money
Colin
for them, to get an autopsy on his body.
Yeah, to get an independent one. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There's some things with that. From what I understood, it's like everybody would leave their phone because the water gets deep and you don't want your phone getting in the water or whatever. But with Colin Kaepernick did pay for an independent autopsy to be done. I don't know. I think about this case a lot because growing up in Western North Carolina, I was Nolan Wells. You know what I'm saying? I was the only person of color in a group full of white people. And fortunately, I'm still here. I always kept my keys, though. I'm just kidding. But I think about this a lot, and, it's kind of hit close to home. What's y'all's take on it? What y'all think?
I know for me, it's just the inconsistency of the story. So the guys are saying, he wanted to stay back to be with a female. Female is saying, well, he said he was going to go back with the guys that he came with. So that's one inconsistency. But that alone, I would think would lead to a more robust investigation. Like, it's just been a lack of vigor or, urgency to, I think, just be investigative for whatever reason. I think we know the reason. But there was a rush to say that there's no sign of foul play and the body hadn't even been examined yet. You know what I'm saying? So,
Well, they, not to cut you off, but they said they didn't find his body until 2 days later after the situation.
right. And so the sheriff or the captain of the police force, I want to say the sheriff, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but he was already saying after, the body was found that there's no foul play. Right. There's no reason to suspect foul play. Well, what do you come up with that from? Like, nobody's examined the body yet. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's kind of like the fix is in, and nobody can ignore the fact that, one of the kids who was on the boat, his mother, stepmother, you know what I'm saying, was quick to get involved, in which I understand the concern that a parent would have for their child in a situation so serious, you know what I mean? But, that cloak of secrecy between law enforcement, the court, legal system, it just has a bad, it just leaves a bad taste in the mouth of people who really want answers, that they can kind of like protect each other. I have to mention like racism, white supremacy, especially in Mississippi, who has a history, legacy of circumventing justice and due process, you know what I'm saying? So there's just, the status quo is, to just say it was an accident, and people will accept that. But I guess why I was excited or eager to talk about it is because I see something just taking a step back. It's just like, okay, if you are in a situation where you don't want to accept that status quo, are we now at the point in society where we have to pay, to get any kind of investigation done? So like you said, Colin Kaepernick stepped in to, have the autopsy done by an independent medical examiner. Tyler Perry, put up money to help, bury the child. And then Spike Lee came in. And so we already up to like $1 million to get some attention. The Democratic Party, stepped in and put Ben Crump and Al Sharpton out front. Right. And so now you have this media apparatus, to bring some light to this situation. But if it wasn't, the Wells parents or family, whatever it is that maybe they have some connections to the Democratic Party, I don't know, but we hear about these stories all the time and they don't get this kind of attention. So is it an expectation that in the future, if something were to happen to one of my family members, if I got $50,000, $100,000 sitting around somewhere and I could bring enough attention to it,
Right.
maybe I can get a proper investigation done.
And
But if not,
you would want answers to, what's going on, to what's happening.
But the way that the legal system is set up, it shouldn't be that, But we do know class and, power has a lot to do with how, the whole system operates.
But if you look back, was Emmett Till. He was in that area, and the same situation has happened to him, And according to this Wells guy, when his phone was returned back to his parents, all his messages and stuff was deleted out of his phone, which didn't look right. And then when they went to his friend's parents' house, I think it was his father said that they seen Wells' car outside, but he lied and said he didn't have the keys to the car. But it turns out that the keys was found in the house. I think they tracked his phone down. What is it, with the 360? He was like, "What do you mean y'all don't have his phone?" The 360 says, his phone is here. So his phone came up. You know what I'm saying? So it was like they were lying about the situation, which didn't look too good.
Yeah.
So
I think that something that's important for me is when there's something like this. First of all, we want answers and we want transparency. And we want, if there's any foul play at all, we want justice to be served. And when there's, as you said, inconsistencies, it makes it look like, okay, this is not going to be fair. This is not going to be above board. And I think that I think that's justifiable to have strong opinions against that. Right. I also. We on a podcast, right? We're gonna have a little conversation, but I think I want to be slow to place the blame on racism or intentions, because those are some of the hardest things to prove. Now, I know. Look, we here. We gonna talk. We gonna talk.
I disagree with that,
and that's fine. That's fine. But this is what I'm gonna say. I think the stage is already set for racism. Mississippi. Black teen, bunch of white folks, like in the South. Was Mississippi where that the steamboat brawl happened? I think
that was in Alabama.
Whatever, but
it's
deep
down
South,
Yeah.
deep South. I get how already before you get into anything, it's like, okay, yeah, this seems like it's gonna be some racist stuff, and I feel like I'm not saying it's not. Let me be clear. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I don't like to rush to that until we know the facts. And right now it seems like there's a lot of facts. Like the mom in an interview one day said that none of the parents reached out to her. But then the next day in another interview, she was like, oh yeah, 3 or 4 of the parents did reach out to him. She talked to him and they had all, she said, I'm sorry, I misspoke. But in the social media age, it's the first headline you see for any case at all is probably what you're going to run, like that first narrative, right? Because once the facts come out and people start like, oh, it's already too late by then. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, but I see that I'm trying to be fair to both sides. I see that coming out of COVID, coming out of all this stuff where we're getting all these lies from the government and we're just told to accept it and trust the science and trust our judicial system. I wouldn't trust that either.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trust that either.
No trust in the judicial system at all for any case.
Yeah, yeah.
But I know what's his name, the attorney Ben Crump.
Yeah,
I know he probably gonna get things straight.
yeah.
I don't know how straight he's gonna be able to get things. I mean, he's a civil attorney. They are convening a grand jury, which doesn't give me any more confidence in their integrity. So there was also talks about the boat being scrubbed or washed down the night that it happened, and the fact that they went silent on social media. It's been a lot of withdrawal, from the public space. These guys are supposed to be his friends, and their response or reaction to his disappearance didn't seem consistent with people who, you know what I'm saying, would be upset, or concerned that one of their close friends has met their demise, you know what I'm saying? So, or possibly. So it's a lot to it, but I have to, like, for me, I want to reference a book called A Compensatory Code for Counter Racism. But in this book, Neely Fuller Jr. talks about how difficult it is to talk about things like this. He says it's probably race or racism is the most difficult thing for people to talk about with truth and logic, because white people will be offended and black people will be embarrassed because it's an offense for maybe some people in the white community feel like under attack, like you're saying that, you know, we're lying or, you know, we're not being fair. And to black people, it's embarrassing because we're powerless in the situation. Like the law enforcement, the judge, the DA, the medical examiner, they're all white. The medical examiner hasn't ever ruled foul play in any suspicious death. And the prosecutor from the beginning, like I've been following it, and at very least, you can just throw a charge out there, even if it doesn't stick. It doesn't have to be murder or negligent homicide or anything, but I've seen enough where you can say like obstruction of justice, tampering with evidence, reckless endangerment of a minor. All these kids were drinking underage. Like, where did they get the alcohol from? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many things that could just be thrown out there. But in a grand jury now, we got people who were citizens, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna be citizens from that area, and they're gonna have to decide whether a charge is pursued or an indictment is sent out, which 90% of the time it is, but I just got an odd feeling this is gonna be the 10% side.
Right.
I don't think, like, they're just gonna be like, oh, I don't think it's enough evidence. Like, we don't have enough to pursue an indictment here.
But aren't we tired of seeing that when there's certain, you know, a jury is backing up, you know, I guess I want to say white folks, you know, it's going to be difficult for them to be found guilty because they already have, you know, everything in their hands played out the way they want it to be played. Yeah. When it comes to, you know, black people, you know, when you got, you know, white folks on, you know, trial or whatever, and then you have all white grand jury, you know, it's very difficult to find them guilty.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I think you're absolutely right about race being a difficult subject to talk about. You know, growing up mixed with, you know, white and black, racism was something that's been central to me since I was born. And I used to be very, very like on 10, defensive, ready to go, locked in. As soon as I see it, I'm like, boom. But I do think there is a part, and I think it's a lot to do with social media, but I think in general, in these kinds of conversations, the nuanced conversation about like, well, the boat was flooding. Like the 911 call that I don't know if you heard that or not, but they called it in because the boat was flooding. They had to, you know, get rescued, or the mom actually did hear from the kid's parents, things like that, right? Nuance doesn't enter the conversation because racism is such a charged subject that on social media, that's going to get the most engagement. You see what I'm saying? Like, take racism out. If it's a fight, that's going to get a lot of engagement. Some drama, what we talked about, sex selling a couple, you know, pods ago.
Right.
The negativity in general gets the most engagement on social media, and I think that makes those kinds of stories get pushed a lot. I would say those are covered a lot, to be real. I'm not saying that it wasn't racist. I'm not saying that racism had nothing to do with it. What I'm saying is, in an age where all this information is coming out, there's a rush to make an assumption or like say this is what it's going to be. for whatever reason. But I feel like, look, I just genuinely want to know what happened. If I feel like they're being shady with producing evidence, or if I feel like they're not meeting timelines or being that I feel like is justified. But I don't necessarily think, from what I've seen, that there's enough for me to really lean one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not ready to say that the case is done and they're not going to charge any of the boys. But, you know, I think about it like, I feel the tension already when I'm talking about it, right? Like, it's not an easy subject to talk about, but kind of zooming out of this case, I don't know how y'all feel. I'd be interested to get your takes, but, you know, on one half of my family, it's a lot of white devils out here. It's a lot of white men. Like, I don't know if y'all grew up with the same kind of conversation going on, but I kind of look at it like this. When a black person commits a crime or whatever, they're thugs, they're this, they're that. If a white person is on the other end, they're racist, they're this, they're that, right? I'm saying that I think it's usually more nuanced than that, and there's usually more to the story than just writing somebody off as they're racist. You see what I'm saying? I don't know.
So when the statement you just made about white devils, you saying that's conversations you had amongst your family on the white side? Is that what you're saying?
No. So to be fair, on my white side, I heard like anything black that I did was wrong. Anything that, you know, they talked about, this might be another hot take, but I experienced racism, I think, on both sides, where my black side was just like all white people are this. My white side were all black people are this. Not everybody in my family. My family's not full of racists, but growing up in the 90s, you know what I'm saying? And so there's a lot of conversation about the white man trying to keep us down on the black side. On the white side, it was a lot of there's thugs and all this. I'm not saying it was just one side. But I'm just curious if that was a conversation that y'all have had, how you feel about that.
Well, being that we're talking about it right now, do you feel like white folks are trying to hold black people down? Whether it's, you know, government-wise or whatever, is it harder for black people to excel?
I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that. Because I think that, short answer first, and I'll expound. Sure. No, I don't think that white people are trying to hold us down. Okay. I don't think that white people are the enemy. I think that sin is the enemy. As a Christian, I believe the devil is the enemy. You know what I'm saying? And that takes shape in all races, right? But what I would say is, and I'm gonna pass the mic because I can see y'all ready. Y'all over here like, boy, as soon as he finished talking, I'm gonna light him up. It's all good, man. I'm listening. But I would say that, like, I know plenty of black people that are business owners, very successful. Okay, let me back up. Does racism exist? Yes, 1,000%. It will always exist. You can never kill an idea. Like, racism will always exist, okay? Not saying that doesn't exist. I'm saying that right now, if I want to go buy a car, I can buy a car. If I want to go buy a house, I can buy a house. If I want to get a job, I can get a job, right? Like, does that mean that people aren't racist that are in places of power? No, because there definitely are. But I'm saying that there's nothing that a white person can go out here and do that I can't.
Now, to what you just said, just from previous conversations with some of my other people, when you just named that black people can go buy a house, black people can go buy a car, they would say, I'm hearing them, when you said that, I'm hearing them say, well, what about they charge you higher interest rates because you're black? What about they charge you more?
It's always something
redlining.
Yeah, and it's been those types of things that's happening.
And it depends on what area you in. You might can do that here in Durham, but if you go to another city or another state or whatever, you go to a place where it's predominantly all white people and you're black, will it be easy for you to obtain those things that you just mentioned when it comes to getting a car, a house, but 90% of people in the area that you're at are white?
Here's what I would say. Are there sundown towns in America? Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Are there places where you better not go if you're black? Yes. Yes. Not saying that doesn't exist. I'm saying that's not the norm.
It's not the norm in this country, in the United States. Do you know, is black people or white people, which one are the majority?
Well, white people are the majority.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but what I'm saying is we're talking about where you're going to get screwed over basically for being black. I'm saying that, and I've lived in California, Nebraska, Texas, North Carolina, traveled all over the states, but I would say that by and large, most people are not racist for any group. But there definitely are racists. There are definitely places where a white person better not show up, right? And there's definitely places where a black person better not show up in a white neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? I know y'all disagree, but I'm down to have the conversation. I'm down to have the conversation. I know my take might be a hot take in here, but I'm down to hear what y'all think.
Yeah. And I like some of the points that you brought up. I don't personally know anywhere that I've ever been where a white person couldn't be and not be safe. I mean, I've been in some of the most sordid places, you know what I'm saying, where I probably was in more danger. But if a white person was there, they still would have a level of safety that I don't have. And I'm talking about some of the roughest hoods. But I do not like calling or just assuming that all white people are the same. Like that's irresponsible for me. Mm-hmm. And also, I don't really like calling people racist. What I will say is that we are under a global system of white supremacy. And that's why I mentioned that book, A Compensatory Counter-Racist Guide, because it lays it out in all the areas of power or domination. So you got like economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, and war. That's 8. Which one am I missing?
Run them down again.
All right. Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics,
War,
religion, sex,
okay,
and war. So if you break down those like 9 areas of people activity, then the way that things are set up from a global standpoint, not just here in the United States. So, and that's really, I guess, the focus that I wanted to put on the Nolan Wells case. Like if you go to each one of those areas, those 9 areas, you can see how they play into the dynamics of this case being investigated. And for me, I take it off of the people so much. Like they're just in place because of the system. The system works with very little compliance from them. It's almost automatic at this point. You know what I'm saying? From years of legacy. But let's just take some of the most obvious. Let's take sex, okay? So Nolan Wells is mixed. Like he's like, his father is black and his mother is
like Asian.
Something Philippine, I think. But but anyway, he's considered black, and he was maybe attracted to a young white lady there on the island. So there's a pathology, but there it's documented. This is well documented, but that is part of the motivation for white supremacy because of the genetic material of black people. If you have mixed with a white person, the white is not going to come out as dominant as the black. So that's part of it. Then you have...
Wait, what do you mean by that?
So if a black person has sex with a white person, particularly the male, sleeps with a white person, then more of the dominant genes will come through from the black side.
And you're saying that plays into white supremacy?
So to the psyche of
Okay.
And I need to refer to another book called The ISIS Papers by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She did a lot of research on it, but the state of what she calls albinism, and the fact that white people cannot produce color gives them an inferiority complex, in the sense that all non-white people pose a threat to their survival, genetic survival. You know what I'm saying? So there's always this constant fear of genetic annihilation. So a system had to be put in place to protect them from being genetically annihilated. Because anybody that they procreate with outside of white, they're gonna lose whiteness.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I see what you're saying.
So the system has been put in place for that. Now, the thing about black or people with a lot of melanin in them, I'm not black. My shirt is black. You know what I'm saying? Your jacket is black. Your shirt is black.
We're talking about a person of color.
We're talking about somebody from the darkest spectrum of the human family.
Right.
They pose the most threat because it doesn't get any darker. You know what I'm saying? So if I wanted to get rid of white people, I could just sleep with all white women. You see what I'm saying? And eventually, but that's part of the psyche. And most people don't even think about that, but the system is in place. So to where if you look at the education that we get is Eurocentric. When I was in the second, third grade, we were talking about, Columbus and the discovery of America. I was already, me and my best bud, we was like, man, this don't make no sense. Like, how did this guy discover a place where there's already people here? Like, we were questioning these things. And so...
that's a good example.
But, education has a lot to do with it, and the media. So it was a mention about not to rush to judgment and not say that race is involved, but it's always a rush to rule it out from the other side. It's always a rush to say there's nothing to see here. Oh, it was just an accident. I can't think of a situation recently where it hasn't been a rush. It's been 9 hangings since this time last year, and all of them have been suicide. You know what I'm saying?
They say.
So they say.
Yeah,
it's just oh, okay, really?
Yeah.
But it's just a legacy of this type of stuff. But before I pass the mic, want to say that the system of white supremacy is where I'm holding that as an indictment, and not so much the people, because not just white people participate in white supremacy.
Right.
There's plenty of black people. There's plenty of non-white people who participate in it. And like I mentioned, religion, not to name any religion, but depending on how.
Wait, pause. So you say there's people of color that participate in white supremacy?
Oh, absolutely.
Uncle Tom.
Yeah, well, not just Uncle Tom, but you think
I
about
wouldn't say
people
Uncle Tom, but I
who
would say
undermine
Sam
the black
Sambo.
community in the black community. So the guy who breaks into my house or my car, he's gonna, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna have to deal with him and fight him. And meanwhile, both of us probably end up at the courthouse, in which they want a hot or cold body. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of missed that. You said the person that breaks into your car is a person of color?
Or if
so
this
they
is
want
a
to label
person
that
of color.
as a black-on-black crime. What does
Yeah.
that got to do with the supremacy, white supremacy?
No, I'm saying that if somebody from my own group does something to me,
Your
then
own
he's
race.
contributing to the system of white supremacy, in the sense that now we're going to be in that system of the legal system, because I'm going to want to do something about it, or either I'm going to have to go.
But
you know what I'm saying?
I disagree with that, because I wouldn't say they would label that as towards white supremacy, because like I said, a black person does something to you, you're black as well.
Yeah.
So they would put that as a black on black crime. They would say black people are killing black people, those type things or whatever. Or they would do things to try to eliminate a certain race, like us as black people. If you think of, I'm not saying this is true, but at one point in time we had COVID. A lot of, black people were affected from that. and I'm not saying this is true as well, but they were saying that they were trying to eliminate a lot of people of a certain color during that time. You know,
Yeah.
That
I
was
don't
a
know if
terrible
y'all
example that I made. Okay, but the only thing that I can say out of that is, from a standpoint of white supremacy, then that whole narrative about black on black crime. But my thing is, if I have to fight within my own community, to me, this person is helping to contribute to the system of white supremacy. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Subconsciously, like why are we, you know what I'm saying? Why are you stealing from me? I don't have, any more than you.
yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Take it outside of the community. But
I would say, kind of backing up a little bit, that when we talk, you mentioned globalism earlier, and I agree that there is a global elitism thing where it's like we used to make our own. We had our own textiles. We were a factory, a country full of factories where everybody could find a job and pay for it. And then we exported all of our, we get labor from Mexico, right? We get our clothes and everything from China. You know what I'm saying? We don't produce anything, our food. So what I was getting at is, I do agree that there's like this globalism going on, but I think that affects white people too. Like, they have to pay $4 at the tank, $4 at the for a gallon of gas too. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to school and AI is replacing their jobs too. Or, you know what I'm saying? They're in student loan debt that can't be forgiven, and they'll never be able to pay off because of interest rates. So I think it's, and again, racism exists. Not saying it doesn't. But I think it's more about the haves and the have-nots. Meaning, I think that at that level, it comes more, the color they care about is green more than white or black. And I think that in a case like Nolan Wells, in a case like George Floyd, in a case like whatever you can think of, there's an invested interest from the 1% of the 1% to cause chaos and distraction amongst the 90%. While we're fighting each other, not me and you, but we're not looking at the people who are truly
When you say fighting each other, you talking about while we're fighting against our own race.
white, black. It doesn't matter what the conversation is. There's always two sides, and everybody's ready to ride or die for it, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's race. It doesn't matter if it's sports. If it's, I'm trying to think,
When you say fighting each other,
yeah.
I can see where you're, like, politics.
yeah, politics.
Democrat, Republican.
Yes.
We fighting each other while the higher ups
That's-
are really controlling everything and making us making just everybody
Exactly.
just like fight each other basically.
You bring up politics, and I believe that there's no such thing as Democrats or Republican. And you look at it, I think out of 100 U.S. senators, 93 of them take money from AIPAC. You know what AIPAC is? That's our greatest ally is Israel's lobbying foundation. So that's how Israel pays politicians to get policies passed. All right. So what I'm getting at is, they act like, pro-choice, pro-life, these core issues, right, are differences. But when it comes to foreign policy, finances, they are all AOC to Lindsey Graham, maybe not on everything, but they're all in lockstep.
Oh, yeah.
And these are policies that are driving up inflation, that are sending us to war. So what I'm saying is, that's what I mean, like that bit, like the elite, it's all about green. It's all about green. And the bottom line is, they want money. And so they can profit off of, let me give them a distraction so that they're not paying attention. And I think that, again, racism exists and will always exist until Christ comes back. But I think that I think some of it's like artificial.
I agree that the politics, and so I go back to say it again. I hated that example that I used. I was going to edit that out. But listen, the system is global, and Donovan just mentioned it. But the way in which a foreign government can basically buy this government, but that is from a system of white supremacy, which is global dominance, because it's only affecting more so the non-white world more than the white world. And if you talk to most white people in this country, like they feel safe. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not.
I wouldn't say that they feel safe.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah. Well,
What do you mean, Red, when you say you wouldn't say that? What do you mean by that?
I mean, they could be in an area or whatever where it's, like I mentioned before, where it's predominantly, a white person could be around someone that's predominantly black folks. They wouldn't feel safe.
Now, is that the same safe you talking about?
No, I mean on a global scale, like white people with Israel, I'll just say it. You know what I'm saying?
I can't believe he said that. Hey, to the CIA officer watching this,
listen, the state of Israel,
that's right. That's
and
right.
not necessarily Jewish people.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because I know people who don't share Zionist views. You know what I'm saying? But it has to be said. But the system of white supremacy is dominating in those 9 areas, wherever you see it globally. And it's happening here in the United States. It's happening in Europe. It's happening in Russia. You know what I'm saying? It's happening all over the world. Right. The way that Africa is, being overran for the last almost 200 years, you know what I'm saying, with colonization, being robbed of their resources, extracting all of the wealth out of Africa. And not to say that the people in Africa from those separate countries who made deals, those governments, those kingdoms, not to say that they don't have a part in it, but we know that the threat of war, or war itself, violence, or the threat of violence compels people to do things against their best interests. Right. And that's really where we're at today. No one can really form a defense systematically, globally, against white supremacy because nobody has nukes and bombs other than white supremacists.
Well, let me push back a little bit. Let me push back. I would say, and that's why I say like it's more about green than it is white or black, because you look at immigration in this country under a white president in Joe Biden. There was, and I mean, I don't have the exact number, so this may be wrong, but millions of undocumented immigrants that came here over those 4 years, like millions. And you got to think they're having families, you know what I'm saying? And they have a prediction of like and again, the numbers ain't gonna be exact here, but by 2050, that might be off. But by 2050, this will no longer be a majority white country. And so what I'm saying is, it is the elites that have an invested interest in that. Does that make sense? And they don't care that the population is not going to be majority white anymore as long as their bank account is still green. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I would give pushback there. I would just say that, like, if you look at it and how many because we agree that there's millions that came, right, during the Biden presidency.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the border was, it was free game pretty much. Like, anybody with some floaties could get in here. You know what I mean? Like, and so if you look at it like that, like, where does that policy come from? It's not white supremacy. I would say, if anything, you talk about them feeling threatened by, black men and sleeping with white women, like having millions of non-white
immigrants. So what about the small things that they're doing now? I might be saying this word. Y'all will correct me.
Good.
Like gentrification. Am I saying that right?
Gentrification.
Gentrification. They're doing that.
Yep.
Then they're doing things where they're poisoning foods.
Yep. Yep.
You know, they're and it may not be hitting the black race all at once, but over the years, when you said 2050, from now until 2050, they could be slowly changing things until we get to 2050 when it concerns the money that you're talking about, you know, when they are like gentrification, where they're pushing, you know, black folks out of the city and living on the outskirts of certain places where majority of white folks are living in the city. Why or how? Because they have more money. Where on the outskirts, you know, black people don't have that much money to move into the city. So if they're doing that in every city, and again, was it gentrification? Is it?
Yeah.
When they're doing that everywhere throughout the country, that will, as time goes by, will make a difference.
Yeah. So this is why I'm trying to be nuanced about it. Like I will never say racism won't exist in this country. You're not going to hear me say that ever. I think that gentrification happens.
And I don't know who sees this, but we have a government and they collecting taxes and they doing everything. I think, like y'all say, Jewish folks and government or whatever, they have a major say in what goes on in our country.
I don't push back. I don't push back against that. I agree with that. I
Right,
agree
so
with that.
I think those are the type of people that's controlling us now.
Yeah, and here's what I'm just saying when it comes to, is it pushing white supremacy or is it pushing a global elitism? I know that just sounds real bookish to say global elitism, but what I mean is a lot of those policies, if you were a hood-wearing KKK member, right? A lot of these policies about like immigration, you would be losing your mind over, right? I'm just saying white supremacists, like they would hate the immigration policy, right? But the people in power that are pulling the strings are imposing these policies. So what does that mean? To me, that means, is there a dollar they can make off of it? If yes, then yes. That's what I'm saying.
I want to back up a second and go back to just the whole thing about the Nolan Wells case. You know what I'm saying? For me,
yeah.
I think that was
That's where we started at.
yeah, but I'm gonna try to bring it up to where we at now. But to me, that's an example of a system of white supremacy working on autopilot. Okay, for that case, I love where the conversation is at now because the system of white supremacy is losing its power, and that's why we're seeing so much reactionary behavior from politicians, from the government, from local law enforcement agencies, and it's just a scramble for, desperation. Because people, to your point, I was talking to Leon before we got started. I thought the projection was more like 2030 of where
it might be.
Yeah, of where like the Mexican population kind of starts to overtake the white American population, but even still, which goes into those other topics later on that I want to talk about. There is a competing faction, which I think you would describe as elite, and if I can get it right, it's the OCGFC, which is the owners and controllers of global finance and capitalism, or capital, excuse me. And so capitalism is the system produced by white supremacy, but now that's been hijacked by that upper crust, that upper tier, which could be white people. I'm pretty sure. It's hard not to say that it's not, but it's the 1% of the 1% that's really pulling the strings on all of, the things that we see. They're pulling, we're seeing the outputs of everything. We're like at the tail end of everything. They've already made decisions and done things a while ago to put us in these situations. And like you said, divide and conquer is the primary tool of those in power.
Yeah.
But the way I try to look at things is from a distance and not, be so personal and ingrained in it, because from person to person to person, you can call people names and put them in groups and force stereotypes on them, but that's not, to me, getting to the root of what's happening. But we're under a specific system, and most of us are willing participants or unwilling participants, one way or the other, but we're all participating in the system, you know, until we come up with a better system. And so I'll shut up about this all, but the system of white supremacy, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, sex, religion, and war. So the opposite side of that would be truth, justice, and correctness. And so justice would fix everything. So if somebody and since we brought up Israel or whatever, if somebody would have got indicted from the Epstein list, or if the current president of the United States would have faced some sort of real time or something, whatever it is, but you see so many examples of powerful people, white people, that just the law doesn't apply to them. Right. And how is everyone else supposed to feel about that?
Being that
when I do something, or when somebody does something to me in the black community, they go into jail.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't. If somebody from the white community, and we have another example of Rick Chow, although he was Chinese man, what was his other case
at the gas station?
But it was another case where
in the 90s, the LA riots.
No. It was another case recently where another person got off in the same fashion, but it keeps playing out. This person is always getting the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? Because of the system. It's not the people, it's the system. Yeah. And that's what I want.
But you said the law doesn't apply to them. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
But you said one of the things would be justice.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of the non
of the system.
Do you think do we have fair justice in our country?
No. I think that's what the problem is. The system was created to produce injustice.
Right. So we don't have justice, or I would say people of color don't have going against justice. It doesn't really go in our favor.
Right.
So, that will continuously put us on the bottom of the totem pole where we can't win. We'll never be able to win.
Well, the system
2030, 2050, wherever. As long as it keeps going on the way that it is, we will always lose.
And the system has to be replaced. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let me say this, because you ever seen that Netflix documentary 14th?
The 14th Amendment?
Yeah. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I'm with you on how there's like the crack versus cocaine mandatory minimum discrepancies, like how there are and have been laws in place that disproportionately affect black people. I'm with you on that. But what Red said is something that I've thought about for a long time. Is, I'm not saying you feel this way, but I think that I'm gonna try and say this carefully. You
better get it. No, go ahead, man. We all good.
Yeah, right. Mama, I love you. All right. I think that there's a conversation that needs to be had with empowering black people, as opposed to when you're saying we can't win. That's why I push back. Because I would say that, like, there's that old Proverbs, like, anyway, I'm not going to get too far down the weeds. If you have that mentality, then you've already accepted that. And then it takes away any of your agency, any of your ability to do for self. And that's why I'm like, and I'm gonna let you go. But I would just say that when you're saying that these systems are in place and we can't win, then I feel like it's like you've accepted that we've lost. And I'm not, and I'm not saying that the Tyler Perry's, the Oprah Winfrey's are the standard. Obviously, they're the exceptions. But I'm just not willing to say that black people cannot improve their circumstances. That's not That's what I think.
I'm not
this
going to say
conversation.
that I accept it, but when I have things that show me, when I see the George Floyd, when I see this Nolan Wells, when I see examples over and over and over where they are taking control over it, the Nolan Wells situation may not go in our favor. You know, like he just said, they might have a grand jury.
Let me
with
ask,
all
what's
white
in
folks.
our favor? What you mean by that?
Like we're, you know what I'm saying, we'll come out on top. We'll win a certain situation. Like Trayvon Martin, you know, like those things don't favor us. So when we continuously see in the George Floyd and things like that, you know, when those things continuously happen, we're going to keep saying we'll never win.
Well,
Because
I mean,
they keep giving these examples of us losing.
but the George Floyd, the cop did go to jail. He's in prison.
Yeah, he went, but he killed somebody.
Well, no, I mean, I guess I'm not sure what you mean by, like, there are a bunch of cases where justice is not served and racism plays a part.
Well, that's the end of the story. If justice is not served of any color, it's not right.
Okay. Yeah, that's not right and it's not good and no pushback there. I'm just saying that, does that mean that as a black man, you can't, for instance, work a 9-to-5 instead of living a life of crime? Does that mean that, you know, you can't get married and be in a faithful relationship with the wife and raise children as opposed to going out and, you know, like I was, I'm not pointing any fingers, that doesn't apply to me, but you know what I'm saying? Just sleeping around and doing, you see what I'm saying? Does that mean that, like, does it make sense what I'm saying?
It doesn't. I'm not.
I'm following you.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, okay, in a legal system, is there going to be cases where justice isn't served because of race? Yes. No pushback. What I'm saying is, when you say we can't win, I'm thinking of, okay, we can't control our environment and the things that happen to us. We can't control our thoughts and our actions. Does that make sense?
Yes, I got you.
And a lot of times it's our thoughts. I'll talk about me. It was me drinking 4 or 5 nights a week, me partying all the time and doing all these things that was causing me.
Yeah, but that's you, no disrespect, but that's you hurting yourself. But I can sit down and I can write down 20 people where blacks are hurt or killed or whatever due to someone of an opposite race hurting them. But can you do it in reverse? Can you write down 20 white folks that's been hurt because a black person has did it to them?
I mean, yeah, but here's what I'm saying. I think that's the exception, not the rule. I don't think that happens all the time everywhere. Whereas what does happen all the time everywhere is a lot of small decisions that we can make to improve our lives. Instead of buying a section, we invest in a S&P. Instead of flexing for whatever, we're like, okay, let me look at getting a property. These are the kinds of things that are common, that are everyday, that are in our control, that we can use to win. We can't control the legal system in our environment. Does that make sense?
I want to build on what both of y'all are saying, because I see it, I can understand where both of y'all are coming from, especially, so in this country, black people have always found a way to succeed and to, you know, rise above any expectation that was put on us. And so I don't feel like we're defeated in any regards. The system of white supremacy is always pushing against us, though.
Right.
And if we didn't have that, that's the reason that the system is there, because
Bingo.
The fear is that we will overtake the dominant population,
Right.
or the
And
more
they're scared of
populous
that.
domination.
They're scared of that.
But as far as like actually, you know, getting beat down every time, it is frustrating for me. And this is why I like what Neely Fully Jr. had to say. It's embarrassing, because I don't like necessarily having to admit that, you know, my people endured, you know, almost 250 years of chattel slavery. You know
More
what I'm
than
saying?
that,
That's not easy to, but we survived it. We overcame it. We damn near freed ourselves. Like we fought in every war on this country's soil. You know what I'm saying? So, but then when we got out, we started with -0. We were already, you know what I'm saying, building towns. We were already getting into the House of Representatives and the Senate. Like I grew up in a community, Henry P. Cheatham was one of the first senators in the United States back in the late 1800s, you know what I'm saying? So we did a lot in a 20 to 30 year period after the Emancipation Proclamation, after we were so-called free. We had exponential growth, but that was smacked down with like black codes, Jim Crow, and then some of the, you know, towns that were built up, they were actually bombed. We had urban renewal. We had freeways ran through those towns. So to your point, you know what I'm saying? It's just like every time we get to a good place, you know what I'm saying, we get smacked down. But that does not, for me, defeat. I will not accept defeat in that way. I will always, you know what I'm saying, believe. I'm a believer, you know what I'm saying, that we're gonna get through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't make excuses. I really don't. For the people that do know me, they know like I am always gonna keep my attitude as positive as possible and work to the solution. You know what I'm saying? But I need to be equipped and informed with what's going on. And right now, things are the way they are because we're at a very critical point in time for the, you know, human family to where power is shifting. Yeah. It's shifting. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, but what about my point? You said something to Red's point.
Come on, God. I thought I started with you.
I'm just playing.
Oh,
but
man.
you made me think about two things that I wanted to talk about in favor of your argument saying that there is systemic racism. I'm going to give you one that I believe is systemically racist that might be having a much bigger impact on the community than court, which going to be maybe controversial, but Planned Parenthood. Are you familiar with this? With Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood? So it's just, you know, pro like abortion clinics and stuff like that. Okay. And yeah, maybe this might be another pod, but I'm gonna tell you that the founder of Planned Parenthood is on record saying we don't want them to know that what she say, we're trying to, do you know the quote I'm talking about? She was like, we want to like,
come on, man.
We want to exterminate the Negro population. I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what she said. Right. And if you look at what these Planned Parenthood clinics, the community that impacts the most, let me pull up some numbers here.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern. Why you're pulling that up? That you know, there's been a push lately to have women have more babies, but that's only in one community. Right. You know what I'm saying? They want the people of my community, the women in my community, they don't mind if they, you know, kill their babies.
Yeah. Right. And look, in abortion rates per 1,000 women, Black women are the highest at 24.4 per 1,000. Hispanic women are 11.6 per 1,000. Other races are 9.4. White women are 5.7 per 1,000. Now I'm going to look at how many.
Now, while you're looking that up, let me say this. The highest rate was with the black race, correct?
That's correct.
Now, say if all those people that you just went through, each race, did have their children, would you not think that black people would be the majority race in our country?
Probably not the majority yet, but I just looked it up. An estimated 19 to 20 million black babies have been aborted.
19 to 20 million.
To 20 million. 20 million. We'll say 20 million. And you think about racism, a system in place right now that has people advocating for it, that is, there's plenty of Planned Parenthoods in black neighborhoods, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think something like that is definitely a sign that systemic racism.
And you said 20 million. Was that in 1 year or was that
Since 73.
Since 73. Okay.
They estimate that 1 in 3 babies in the modern era are aborted.
But even more is another statistic that should be looked at, and that's a really hot button topic. But
It is.
is the infant mortality rate, you know what I'm saying, of black women, and actually dying women who died during childbirth, you know what I'm saying, is staggering in comparison to white women. You know what I'm saying? The care is just not there, you know what I'm saying? So, but that is, again, systemic.
But that's what I'm saying. And to your point, you know, you gave one to Reg, gave one to me, I gave one to you. I do agree that when there are systems like that exist. But the second thing that I want to talk about is, and I don't know what your beliefs are or anything, but as a Christian, I think that Jesus tells us that we're going to be persecuted. He told his disciples that you will be persecuted, you'll be flogged in the synagogues, and that you'll be put on trial. And all of his disciples were killed for their belief in Christ. And the reason why I bring that up is we live in a fallen world. We live in a broken world until he comes back. That's my belief, at least. And so, but he doesn't say, going back to that belief and being optimistic, he says that by having faith in him, that you will be saved in the end. And so I believe that, and I heard you mention religion in there with the 9. And we can talk about it. Let's talk about it. But in Christ there is hope, and in Christ all this is not for nothing. And I think that if we expect that the world will be perfect, we will always be disappointed. But if we accept that it's fallen, but take action, that is how. You see what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, faith without works is dead. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's one thing to have faith, a belief that turns into faith. And while I'm not a professing Christian, I do acknowledge that God is real, and I feel a connection to God, the God of my understanding. But what I will say is that with religion, at one time in my life, I was violently anti-religious. Like I just thought that itself is a human failing on our part, because all I was seeing was the divisions. You know what I'm saying? And I can see how under a system of global white supremacy, like, it's very hard to differentiate between the religions that I'm familiar with and white supremacy, because all of them complement or keep the system going. They don't necessarily fight against the system. There are people, I know plenty of Christians, that they don't stand for any sort of subjugation or injustice from anyone, you know what I'm saying? And revolutionaries that, have or claim to be of a certain religion. I know people. They're like public figures, you know what I'm saying, that I could name. But for me, the only real religion, I think some people mistake their religion for the name that they call it, but it's actually white supremacy. Because that religion is more powerful than any religion that I know of on this earth right now.
Yeah. See, I'm glad. I'm glad we're having this conversation, man. I think it's good.
We might not get to the other topics.
Yeah. I mean, roll with it. Yeah. But what I say is when you talk about that, I would push back and say that Christ came for the Jews and the Gentiles.
Yeah.
He does not teach supremacy. He says that all of us will face him in judgment as equals regardless, and that he told his disciples to go and preach the gospel to all nations, all corners of the world. And to kind of, to your point, I think that there are plenty of examples, slavery in this country, where, to be clear, the slaves were not given the Bible, they were given the Negro Bible, which had a lot of stuff redacted. It was not the full Bible. But there have always been people in places of power that are corrupt. And I would say that the thing about Christianity is some of Jesus' biggest ops of his time were the Pharisees and the Sadducees, which were the religious leaders of their time. So he was not here. He saw how they were gambling in the synagogues and doing all this stuff, and that's the flipping tables when he goes in there and they see they turn into a market. So Christianity holds those people accountable. Like the mega church pastor that wouldn't open his doors when the flood, Joel Osteen, or that other one that said that he need to own a private jet. If you know he looked demonic, I ain't gonna lie to you. But Christianity does not accept that. That is not accepted. However, people are people. But what I'm saying is Christianity is in opposition to white supremacy. Christianity is in opposition to any supremacy except Jesus Christ. Yeah. Like that's the difference there. But I don't want to turn this into all that. But I would say that from a Christian perspective, it's a lot easier to understand the world as it is sometimes. Meaning, when you see sin, greed, power, lust, murder, you see all these things, addiction, and you understand that people are born with a God-sized hole, void in them. And some people feel that with Christ. Some people feel it with drugs, with power, with greed, you see what I'm saying? And I look at racism as another disease of the heart. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just another example.
Disease of the heart. You don't think, I'm not saying today, but back in, years ago, that children growing up wasn't taught this by their parents or grandparents?
Yeah.
So then I wouldn't consider that to be a disease of the heart if you're being taught something.
Yeah, I guess, or maybe it's just more, I look at the main culprit as Satan, the devil, than I do like an individual parent or something like that. It's people that don't know Christ. I'm not saying only Christians are moral. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying,
yeah, because you got a lot of different religions out there.
Yeah, and everybody can have morals, and but what I'm saying is, when you see these really corrupt people, I think you cannot be a follower of Christ and be racist. You cannot be a follower of Christ and be sexist and all these other things. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I don't agree.
Yeah, well,
push back then.
Well, so
we pushing right now.
So, the difficult conversation with me, and this is why I try to stay away from religion, is because how you just articulated your belief and how you, say that a believer in Jesus Christ doesn't do this, doesn't do that. I applaud that. And I wish that was the reality, but I know that it's people who will willingly shoot a missile at another country. Mm-hmm. Pete Hegseth, he just talked, a little while back about, and they showing this guy talking, to a preacher. Mm-hmm. And these are believers in Christ. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's why I say I try to stay out of that, because some people don't even get into the New Testament in this world. They're stuck on Deuteronomy. You know what I'm saying? They try to go to the promised land and take possession of lands. You know what I'm saying? They feel ordained. They have a divine right to do certain. Right. So I stay out of that. But for me, white supremacy, they don't really care what your religious belief, your sect, your denomination, any of that stuff, as long as it accomplishes the end goal, and that is domination of the non-white world. And so sometimes, and I'm gonna keep it on me, I can play into that by my action or inaction. And so I appreciate this opportunity to be on this podcast, because it gives voice. Sometimes who can I talk to? Where can I go talk? Is I don't have, I don't feel like, I like a setting like this where, it's not just me in an echo chamber. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I tend to stay out of the religious piece of it, because in my interpretation of the Christian religion is probably more to where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? Not exactly, but it definitely doesn't, for me, mean a literal thing where people are taking action based off of something that was written thousands of years ago for a people at that time. You know what I'm saying? And some of it could have been prophecy, you know what I'm saying, talking about a future time, but I can't do something to this man sitting beside me and say that you're of this, that, and the third, and God told me to do this to you.
Right.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
I woke up this morning, I prayed to God.
Yeah.
God didn't tell me to do nothing to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm reading this book and do something to you, I'm under a spell. I'm doing something like, to me, that's insane.
Yeah. And I agree. We don't have to stay there, but one quick thing is when you say that there are the Pete Hegseths or whoever that are, or maybe even pastors that are preaching Zionism, all this other stuff, what I'm saying is they have no basis in the Bible to have those beliefs. Now, they can't point to a Bible verse that says that white people are superior to all other races. They can have their own beliefs because their hearts are corrupted and they have not read the word or accepted the word. So I'm saying that they can do it in the name of religion, but they cannot point to the Bible to back up their beliefs.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Let me ask you-
go ahead. I was just gonna say, for me, as far as like combating that, I don't feel like religion will beat religion in those conversations. So if I want to take somebody or prevent somebody from doing something, my religious belief isn't going to cancel out or beat their religious belief. Because
What do you mean?
Because it's based in religion, like they truly believe that. It's not necessarily. It's tied to emotion. It's tied to education, the way that they were brought up, what their agenda is, whatever propaganda that they have. I'm not going to be able, if there's a opposing Christian if there's a Christian on the opposing side of an argument or to whatever it is that we're doing, my Christian belief isn't going to beat out their Christian belief. They're still going to act because you know what I'm saying? Like
what I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to separate because it's not about my belief, it's about what the Bible says.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to separate, because in Jesus' time when he was walking this earth, there were people that knew the Tanakh front to back that could recite it but did not recognize him as God. So what that teaches you is saying that you can know the words and still be corrupt. And I'm saying that people will have their beliefs and they will be corrupt, and in these powerful positions, people do take advantage of it. It's why you see all these, pastors embezzling the money or whatever the case is, right? But what I'm saying is their basis is in their own personal greed and things like that.
Right.
They call it faith, but it is not backed up by the objective standard, which is the Bible.
Let me ask you a question about the Bible.
Talk to me.
You think the Bible, when it was it written for the people during that time, or does it affect us today in 2026?
Yeah, I think it was written to the people of that time, for people of all time.
And how would that be? Because the era and the timing was so different from now. And those back then, the things that's in the Bible was pretty much stories, as if the Bible was written by an author or many authors for people of that time, but it affects us today, many, 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 many years later,
I would say that I love Jesus, man. I love having these conversations. These are great questions, and I think that a lot of people have them. And I'm down to have the conversation. What I would say is, I think we fall into this trap of thinking, I got an iPhone, I ain't nothing like the people in the 1800s. Like, I ain't never rode in no horse and buggy, so those people were way different than us. Or we think that we're so civilized now because we've got all this AI and all this other stuff. There are more slaves in 2026 than 1826 right now in America, around the world. There are more people sold in sex, slavery, all this other stuff. What I'm getting at is human nature has been the same since the beginning. No matter if it was, 500 BC to now, we've always had the same nature. So that's why a book can be written to people of that time, for people of all time. Because even when it was just Cain and Abel, we already had our first murder. We already had war when it was only 4 people on the earth. So I think that if you read the word, you'll see that it's alive. And we'll get off it. We'll get off it. I feel myself about to preach, but we see that these things like lust and power and murder and money, all of these things are things that we deal with now. Now, it might look like Bitcoin instead of trading in salt or something like that, but the principle is the same. So that's why if it can be written to somebody and the prophecies in there, they are still coming true. And the thing with the Bible is, well, I told you.
So you think the things that was written then hasn't been changed, reworded many years later to I don't know the right word.
Yeah,
to fit our lifestyle today.
You're basically saying is it the game of telephone? Somebody told somebody that told somebody told somebody that by the end it's not even close to the same message. Is that right?
Pretty much.
What I would say is they found what's called the Dead Sea Scrolls. Have you ever heard of that?
I have, yeah.
So basically, what the Dead Sea Scrolls, they had the Old Testament, all the Old Testament, and
The Torah.
Yep, the Tanakh, the Torah. It pushed back. What am I saying? The earliest transcript to over 1,000 years before Jesus was born. Meaning that message has been consistent, and it's in Hebrew, and there are people that still speak Hebrew right now. So they have the original source material, and I'm probably messing up the dates in there, but they have the original source today that they can look at and compare, and the message is like 99.9% the same. There are variants where there's translations, but that's never been a claim of Christianity to have perfect preservation. But the core message of Christ coming, dying on the cross, being resurrected, has been the same since the beginning.
So after Jesus was died, didn't they, like, I think during the time when Jesus was alive, it wasn't a such thing as a letter J, right? Was it?
Yeah, so you're talking about the name Jesus wasn't around
like
yet.
Joshua or something like that, right?
Yeah, but it's kind of like how right now you wouldn't say in English, you wouldn't say Timoteo, you would say Timothy. It's transliteration. Like,
so it's changed.
Meaning it's still the same name, but if my name is like, I was taught Farsi, I learned Farsi, and Farsi is what they speak in Iran. My name's Donovan. They don't have Donovan in Farsi, so they call me Dana. It's not changing my name, it's making my name fit to their language. It's changing.
Time.
It's changing it, it doesn't change the meaning. Does that make sense?
Right. The meaning is the same, but the pronunciation is different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, look, man. I love this, but I know that's not what we came here for. But you can ask me all them questions. I'm down.
I will. I will.
Look, if y'all are digging this conversation on the Forward Social Conversations podcast, look, like, share, and comment. Put your questions in the chat, your comments in the chat. While Donovan go take a potty break. But yeah, we have I don't know if we're going to touch on the other subjects, but we can. It's up to y'all. It's up to y'all how long y'all want to go. Whenever y'all feel like y'all ready, we can end it. But right now we're going on. We're talking about the FBA right now. Let's go, Mike.
Well, I guess for the FBA, for people that don't know, is Foundational Black American. And I wanted to kind of like speak on it a little bit from the delineation standpoint. When you think about the word delineation, there's the like operative word in there is line, L-I-N-E. So DELINEATION. So the word basically means to make a distinction, or if you think about a line, to draw a line or to set a boundary. And so the DE means more so to separate or to take away, you know what I'm saying? And the Asian is like action. So that's all that word means. And what I will say is that I kind of hit on it earlier while we were talking about some other stuff. I grew up in a small town, and it was at an institution, and it was a black institution. It's actually called Central Children's Home, and it gave me a sense of identity. I didn't really appreciate it or understand what was happening when I was growing up, but my family on both sides are from South Carolina, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Abbeville, Anderson, and I can go back 4 to 5 generations on both sides. And for me, I have not ever denied, any aspect of my genealogy and where I come from. So anyway, with the whole FBA conversation, a lot of chatter is happening online. But when back in 2004, I've been on the same job for 23 years now. And I found myself in a room with an HR business partner and this sister from Savannah, Georgia. And at the time, we were just like, it was an open discussion type deal. I'm trying to remember what they call it, a town hall type thing. Anyway, where you just voice concerns or whatever. And somehow I brought up being called African American because I had not long had started with this company. That was like one of the categories. It was African American, and I was just hearing this, name a lot, or that term a lot, and I asked the guy who was a white guy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is up with all the African American things? Like, I'm an American. I was like, I'm not calling you a European American. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I have as much claim to being an American citizen as anybody else. Yeah. Now, if I come up missing, y'all feel free to be like, Mike is black, he's about 5'8", you know what I'm saying? Like, describe me to a T. Right. But I'm an American. Anywhere I go in the world, people will identify me as an American. If I see either one of y'all anywhere in the world, I'm like, hey, brother from America. You know what I'm saying? That's it. And even here, so there's a guy named Claude Anderson who he's a historian, economist. Like, I'm pretty sure he was a financial advisor to Jimmy Carter. But he's written books. And one of the things that he was talking about, that was the first time about 30 years ago, I think, that anybody really probably heard the term like foundational Black American. But he was like, Black people are the foundation of this country. And that's where it kind of started to form from. So, but here recently is where it's gotten more traction. And like I had mentioned before we got started, there's a brother named Tariq Nasheed. Guy's brilliant. He's a historian himself. He's a successful businessman. But he's kind of galvanized some people from a younger generation than my own. And their energy is more confrontational about, gatekeeping the delineation piece of it, like who is a foundational Black American, who isn't, and trying to, keep that separation out in front of everybody. I can keep it real. Like, I care less. I love people. I'm a people person to a fault. You know what I'm saying? If somebody is saying something disrespectful to me, then I would take it as a case by case basis.
So
I don't.
in the way that you're speaking, you don't look at people as a race. You just human to human. You adapt to anybody.
Well,
You
I
see
acknowledge race.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I see all of that. But what I'm saying is like if there's a group outside of a Black American, you know what I'm saying? I don't have any kind of prejudice. You know what I'm saying? I am not racist by any means of that word. You know what I'm saying? I don't have any kind of xenophobia against people from other countries. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't care. There's enough of everything for everybody in this world. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have any fear of like being, of losing anything. And that's part of the faith aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to be okay. I have a relationship with my creator. That's really all that matters. And I don't get too specific with that. But back to what I was saying is that I want people to know from an educational standpoint that might watch this is just like, especially if they're from a group outside of Black Americans or foundational Black Americans, that if they hear that term, foundational Black Americans, not to necessarily associate it with people online that are just, being combative or saying things that might seem outlandish, but it's
Like
actually
what? Like what are they saying that's outlandish?
Well, that people are tethers, which that term is associated with people that are from another country that immigrate to the United States, but it's getting put on people that before they're actually assigned that word, which a tether would be somebody who latches on to the lineage here and gets the benefits of being associated with Black America. But then when they have the opportunity to delineate, they do it and be like, oh, I'm not one of the Blacks. I'm not a Black American. I'm Jamaican, or I'm Ghanaian, or I'm this, or I'm that. Or if they win an award, you know what I'm saying? Like, they distinguish their, lineage and where they come from. But if they get in trouble, I need the Black community to help me out. But it's not a two-way street. But to me, even that, I don't get caught up in that. I'm not in that back and forth thing. I mentioned the book earlier, Compensatory Code for Counter Racism. And one of the things that Neely Fuller says in that book is that either you're constructive or non-constructive, productive or non-productive. And basically his thing is, if you're not trying to replace the system of injustice with justice, everything else that you do is silly and unproductive. And so I don't get caught up in these little back and forth things. And,
I was just wondering what your take on it was.
But I am, by all means, like from a logic standpoint, there's 49 to 50 million foundational Black Americans, people who can trace their lineage back to slavery, chattel slavery in this country. And so whether somebody says they are or not, from a logic standpoint, that would be a foundational Black American. I just, I told y'all, I consider myself to be an American, a Black American. And that's, that's cool. But if somebody was to say, hey, the brother over there is FBA, I was like, oh yeah, me too, But I don't have a false pride in anything, because more than anything, if all the lights are shut off in here, we don't have these eyes to see each other at this level of vibration, I'm going to be a soul or human being, whatever, and everything that I do in this life is going to be based off of my deeds. That's who I am, under the skin. That's who I am. But in this reality, in this simulation that we living in, we got to deal with the physical. We got to deal with the material. And under a system of white supremacy, this is what we have to kind of, combat that system with. And so the other thing that Claude Anderson was really trying to make that distinction is that there's a specific harm that have been done to Black Americans in this country that other immigrant groups, they they just have not had to deal with that in this country. And so the reparative justice through some form of reparations because of chattel slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, unfair banking practices, lending and loaning, you know what I'm saying? All of those things, you know, there needs to be some sort of reparative justice for that foundational Black American group or lineage, excuse me. So,
Okay.
But
So
that's what the delineation is.
Yeah. Okay. And you're saying that there's people claiming to be FBA that only use it when it's convenient, and when it's inconvenient, they're like, "Nah, I'm not that." Right.
Right.
Okay. I think that I agree with what you're saying. Like, it's like I was telling you earlier, the division is profitable. You know what I'm saying? Like the division, it's like, I hate politics. Not left or right. I'm registered independent. But I think the problem with the left was that it was too fractured within it. You know what I'm saying? Like and there's nothing like on the right before this, you know, last couple of years. On the right, they were lockstep. Whoever gets put up there, they're riding or dying for, right? On the left, it was like, you know, you had Bernie Sanders who got taken down, all this other stuff. Why am I bringing that up? Because I feel like there's so much division within already a divided section that it's like, man, I see it as only counterproductive. And then you look at like, and I get the, you know, the reparations talk, which hopefully we can get into, but another social media thing that's going to get some clicks, get some engagement. It's like, bro, like, what is the point? What is the point of me like? Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Look, you just said you're registered independent.
That's right.
I know somebody who says that.
Okay.
If you are registered independent, that means you're a Democrat.
No, it ain't.
That's what I just know somebody who says that.
No,
So
it ain't. No, it ain't. I was left leaning my whole life, for sure. Until I was talking about earlier how they're all in lockstep at the very top, and you know, we think we're getting change, and we think this candidate's going to be the one that doesn't, and it never happens. And I just kind of fell out with the left, but I didn't like get into the right at all. But that's not what we're here for. That's not what we're here for. But what's your thoughts, Red, on reparations, man, and that conversation?
I mean, I'm, you know, kind of going with, you know, Mike here. You know, people will claim to be, you know, one lineage, or, you know, if things are, it's favoring them. If not, then they just want to say, hey, I don't have nothing to do with that. I'm Jamaican or whatever. You know, they just want to represent where they truly came from. But I mean, I really don't focus on any of those things. You know, what you are what you are, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like what Mike was saying. Everybody really, to me, my own personal opinion, everybody's human, man. I wish it was like that. It's not, but I would think everybody would look at themselves as just being human.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know when this racial and all this separation stuff back in the 50s and 60s where black people couldn't go to the same school, that stuff doesn't make any sense to me. So, like you said, there's a line in between, or a boundary that's set from different races or whatever. I don't like that part.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't necessarily race-based. It's a lineage.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that's part of what I think the distinction why it's being made, because it's really more of a healthy way to describe the group here. And I would even challenge, you know, the word black being in there. I would say the group that survived chattel slavery in this country is foundational Americans. You know, you have the Native Americans, like the Red Siberian natives who were here. There were some black natives, and then you had the transatlantic slave trade. People brought here against their will by European settlers, colonizers, and that group my ancestors were used to build the country or to provide the labor so that the country could be built because of the wealth generated from that free labor. And so it makes us foundational. Without us, there is no country. When they tried to do it on their own, they would come and none of the colonies survived. They cannibalized each
So
other.
I'm learning
You know
from
what
this.
saying?
I'm
So-
learning from this area because I don't know much
Yeah.
about this. But I recall you saying, a few minutes ago when we was in our other topic, that Christopher Columbus found America,
Yeah.
but there were already people here, right?
Yeah. Well, he never really
He
hit
didn't
the
find
American
it,
continent, like the United, the continent, the piece of land we're on. He never hit. He was just in the West Indies anyway. But yeah, it was already.
Yeah, because they say like Indians were
already
already here, but then I hear that it really wasn't Indians; there was black
No,
folks.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of always agree with that.
Well, he had Moors on the ship with him that helped him to get here. So they already charted out this country, you know what I'm saying, the land that was here. So, but yeah, I didn't anticipate getting too deep with that. But this is more so an educational thing for people who might be viewing this. Is just like, I hope that people don't view that FBA term or description for the land, because most people just consider themselves Black American. But if somebody is from another country, especially a quote unquote Black country, and they come here and have children, their children are Black American. You know what I'm saying? But they can always say that, hey, no, I'm actually from this place, or I'm this, or I'm that. Or they could definitely, if they're from the continent of Africa, even the mayor of New York, Mondami, he's African American. Like,
Yeah, because
you know
he's
what
from
I'm saying?
Africa, right?
Like he fits that term better. So Barack Obama is an African American, literally. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So the distinction needs to be made, but I think a lot of the online chatter that's taking place now is really the tail end of delineation. Because like I said, over 20 years ago, I was making that distinction that, hey, I'm an American. I'm not denying my Africanness or my, lineage. I don't deny that it came from West Africa, but I've been in America so long.
Yeah.
I'm an American.
So I want to say something. I want to ask you something about this. So when it comes to, well, actually, I'll ask you first. What do you think is the aim, the objective, the goal of the FBA?
So I don't think there's a goal at all. I don't. It's
Okay.
just the delineation has taken place. And I think the term FBA has taken off in part because of Tariq Nasheed, because he is he's very charismatic. He has an attraction that brings people to him. And so it's getting a lot of attention. But that alone doesn't describe, because some people like me would just say, I'm just Black American, you know what I'm saying? Or freedmen, or some people say that American descendants of slaves.
Yeah.
Some people say that Solon. It all describes the 49 to 50 million people who can trace their legacy or their lineage to chattel slavery.
Okay.
This country. So, if reparations, when reparations does come up, and it will, people in this country are going to do it because they feel like they're going to have to, that there's no way out, that they're going to have to pay that debt that's owed. It's going to be lineage based. It's going to be specific. It's not going to be just because you're Black and you just happen to live in the United States. That's not who the debt is owed to.
Right.
And that's what Dr. Claude Anderson that's what he was, telling people over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, these immigrant groups are coming in and they're replacing you. He was talking to us, Black Americans.
Yeah.
He was like, you need to be aware of this. And so he was bringing attention. And like I said, I don't have any problem with immigrants coming into this country. It does hurt when they side with white supremacy or, take on, stereotypes against us and, use them against us. But hey, I got thick skin. I don't, just like we were saying a minute ago, I don't let that define who I am or what I have the ability to do, because my creator put me here to do something. And as long as I'm in good relation with my creator, no weapon against me will prosper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that's just the approach that I take.
Yeah.
But I also need to be honest about the conversation and seeing what's going on in the world. Excuse me. And a debt is owed. A debt needs to be paid for that.
So I want to talk about the reparations too. And first I'll say, honestly, I can't trace my family past Mississippi. I don't know. Like I'm not. I know none of within 4 or 5 generations we did not move here. So, but anyway, I believe I would fall into the FBA. But when it comes to reparations, I'm curious because what does that look like exactly? Where does that money come from? I see that it should be paid to descendants. I think there's another group, the ADOS.
Yeah, ADOS. That's American Descendants of Slaves.
Yeah, which sounds like they should be the same, but maybe there's a difference. I don't know.
That's the same. That's another way to try to describe the group, or describe the lineage, but they are a group. You know what I'm saying? But they are trying to say that they are of the lineage of people who come from the descendants of slaves. And that's why I wouldn't knock what they call themselves, but all of those terms are trying to describe the lineage.
Okay.
And that's why I guess I'm saying this is for people not to get caught up in the name.
Sure.
Is talking about
Where you come from.
49 to 50 million people in this country.
Okay.
No matter what term that people are using, something has to happen for this country to keep going and not be completely destroyed. The powers that be, or the powers that shouldn't be, they're going to have to pay that debt. They're going to see it that way. But what it looks like in the beginning.
And do you think they will? You sound
Yeah,
like you do.
it definitely will. In the beginning, the promise was 40 acres and a mule.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And so why wouldn't it be land and, some sort of resource to, something equivalent to that? You could just, what was 40 acres and a mule worth back then? And that land that was on the coastal Georgia plain, that would have been pie for, the people at that time. But, the world we live in today, I would say it would be some cash, some sort of home ownership, land grant. There's so many different things you could do, but where the money comes from, I think that's the last thing people should be concerned with. We print money.
We do spend money in all kinds
print
of places.
money.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to get too deep either, but the creature from Jekyll Island, it describes, the FDIC and how it was created in this country. But the banking system that we use. And so every war that we fight is fought to print more money. You know what I'm saying? And so people don't raise questions. You brought up the APAC earlier, but we're sending all this money to foreign countries, you know what I'm saying? Or to pay for Planned Parenthoods in the ghetto or in the hood. People don't question where money goes until it goes to black people.
That's
And
fair.
so,
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think, obviously, this is all speculation, whatever, but what do you think? A ballpark, just pull a number out the air. What's a number that you think?
So I have a number that would work for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, about
I got a number.
zeros.
I got a number that it's not a large number. Because here's the other thing. Let me say this: the views expressed on this podcast are mine and not Forward Social.
That's
you know what I'm
right.
saying? But
Tell me
I
what
do
that
want
number.
to say that I can see for me and the way that my life is and the things that I'm willing to do and have done. If I could live tax-free.
Tax-free?
If I could live tax-free.
In this country?
In this country.
You just move
Because I've already paid, they owe me. They owe me. You know what I'm saying? And so I would think about, that would be easy money. You know what I'm saying?
Isn't there
So-
places that doesn't, like Texas and places like
Well,
that?
Florida
have
doesn't have
taxes.
an
Yeah, they don't
income
have
tax.
taxes.
Yeah,
They still
don't.
have taxes.
Okay.
Best believe.
I don't live there, so I
But
don't know the whole
there's
story.
income tax,
But yeah, forgive any of my, like pay off my home loan.
Okay.
Tax free. And then a little nest egg, something that comparable to what I have in my 401k. Like I don't need a lot, but that's not what it's based off of. It's based off of the abuse, the free labor of those ancestors of mine for the 250 years of chattel slavery and the subsequent black codes, Jim Crow, redlining, all of those things. It's an astronomical figure if we try to put it in monetary value.
Okay.
The point is to make a genuine effort to correct a harm that's been done. You see what I'm saying? So I would say that it's not a lump sum, actually. It would need to be reparative in the sense that the same way we have a legacy of racism in this country, we need a legacy of reparations.
Okay. Okay. That tax-free sounds amazing, bro. That tax-free sounds amazing.
It does.
That would make a lot of people more productive, don't you think?
Yeah,
Like
man.
I would
Look,
be out
man.
here working all
Hey.
kinds of jobs and
There are
businesses
people
and-
that don't pay taxes.
That's right.
Who?
That's right.
I had to look it up. I'll find it for you.
Yeah, no,
The
he's
super
right. though.
rich know how to evade
right.
taxes for
Yeah.
sure.
Nah, they're not super rich.
Yeah. But
I don't know what
if-
you talking about. You gotta put me on. I need to get in
Well,
with
if,
them.
if I'm not
if you-
mistaken, it's like Indians or something like that, right? They,
You can do it.
Native American.
Yeah, well,
but
if
that's different.
Yeah, if you really take the time and effort to do the research and open businesses the right
Yeah.
way
Yeah,
and
yeah.
fund the business, but look,
Not,
the
even,
average person,
not even that.
but the average person is not
So
gonna
you
do
trying to-
that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I'm
You
saying?
can't drop that and then not tell us who it is. You like, I'll tell you.
You trying to tell us that you don't pay taxes?
Nah, I pay taxes.
No, I'm
I got to
messing.
find the information, but
Okay.
I give it
All
to
right,
you.
Yeah, give it to me. But what I wanted to bring up is this. Well, I just keep thinking about that no tax. That sounds amazing. But when it comes to reparations, like I'm thinking about, coming off the stimulus checks, the PPP loans and things like that. Do you think that that would be reparative? You see what I'm saying? Like, because I see what you're saying. Like, if I could ever qualify to never pay taxes again, sign me up yesterday. I don't really see that happening. Like, I don't think that that's realistic. I don't necessarily know if reparations is realistic or not. But if they are, then I'm thinking like, okay, and I heard what you said with the tax thing, that's kind of not a lump sum. It kind of goes on. But I would say of those three that you were talking about, paying off your home loan, a nest egg, whatever, and the taxes, I think if two of them, like if any ever likely, it'd probably be the lump sum, basically. Do you think that would really be a net positive? You see what I'm saying? Because my thing is, I think that a lot of people, when they got them stimmies, were out, whatever, going on crazy vacation or getting a section at the club, whatever, and it wasn't necessarily going towards, hey, let me invest in a business or let me whatever. So I'm just curious, y'all's opinion. Do you think that money would be given right back? Or do you
I was
think
gonna
it
say
would
that.
be...
Like, you get the stimulus checks, whatever you got there spending, it's going right back to the people.
So-
you're not gaining anything, and nothing's really depending on how you spend your money. So you're not gaining nothing. They're getting the money right back.
That's a good point, and that's why I say it needs to be reparative justice and not just a lump sum.
Right.
Because it's like I know people who've like inherited like so much fortune from like their parents or grandparents, and they just
Blew it.
You know what I'm saying? And like if you like, depending on who you give $1 million to, it's like giving them a loaded gun. It's gonna be gone like that. But I don't think that the people who are against it are worried about them. They're probably more concerned with, if you give me $1 million, right, it's gonna work. I'm gonna make that thing do somersaults. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna have to. My children's children are not gonna have to be the working class,
Yeah.
and
And
class in
that's
this
what you
country.
call living wealthy.
And so, and so that's what the problem is. But for the population that doesn't care and they just want to be flashy and buy stuff, that boosts our economy even more.
Right.
You know what
But
I'm saying?
whose economy?
I mean, the United States economy. You know what I'm saying? So it has its positives and, well, I shouldn't even say positives and negatives, but it has its benefits and I guess drawbacks. But I think, let's say if out of 100%, let's say 9% gets reparations, gets a lump sum, and they invest and they do things and they come together, that 9% is more than a threat for people to be like, no, we can't do it, than the other 91%. You know what I'm saying? They be like,
I see what you're saying.
the people who would try to help galvanize the energy to like, let's do this reparations. The fight would be against that smallest percent that might even leave this country. Go to another country, because that's the other part of it, which I don't want to get too deep with it, but no matter where, the 49, 50 million people in this country that are Black Americans, that are from the descendants of enslaved people in this country, no matter where we go in the world, the people who hate us the most are going to follow us. They're going to always try to, you know what I'm saying, do something to us. So,
well, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. But I like not talking from the people for or against reparations, but just talking about the recipients of reparations and the culture now. It'd be like, I think it would probably be less than 9%. I think it'd probably be, 5, maybe 1 to 5% that end up wealthier because of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, I think it's going to be a flash in the pan for most, because if you look at our culture now, it's all about consumerism. It's all like, and the things that the Black culture produces, other people are in ownership positions to profit off of. Music and the slang, the vernac, like, we're not profiting off of that. So I'm just thinking, like, as a culture, like, man, it would be a great day, for Nike. But I just don't know if it'd be a great day for Black people as a whole. Or, the FBA will say.
I ain't going to feed into that stereotype too much. But I would say to anybody who wastes that opportunity or that money or whatever that reparative justice looks like, God bless them. You know what, though? We talk about the small percentage. Half of the people who would get that money would probably give it to the church.
Well,
keep it real. Just keep it all, because they got to pay their tithes first. You know what I'm saying? So that's one thing. And
Probably
then,
not.
I ain't paying that.
I was gonna say, I don't know.
now we're gonna lose our religion. Now wait a minute.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
No, I'm talking about the other half of the people. I don't believe half of the people will do that.
No, half of them gonna do it.
Half of them gonna do the wrong thing.
It's gonna be your 70, 80-year-old and up. They might be, because they probably already the most.
You can go a little younger than that now.
No, I'm talking about the people that are kind of like, it's kind of predatory. You know what I'm saying? Like the ones that they kind of get convinced into giving more. That's going to be your older.
But I do have more confidence in my people than to just go totally consumer with some real money. Now I'm not talking about 6 digits, but like if somebody were to get 7 digits, they'd be like, "Oh, I can't blow this." Well, they'll figure out a way to become a producer as opposed to keep being a consumer.
Let me say this.
So,
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if you look at, I think it's the NBA, the NFL, people that are getting these huge paydays, there's the top LeBrons and KDs, and then like if you're below them, I think, I wish I had the number, but it's over 50, 60% end up like basically losing all that money within 5 years. So I'm just thinking like I'm not condemning black people. I'm just saying that as a culture, everybody makes fun of Dr. Umar. To be fair, he's been building that school for about 35 years. But
He got it open now.
it's open?
Yeah, it's open now, but to be fair to him, he had to do a lot on his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was out here asking for donations.
Why did he have to do a lot on his own though?
Because people want to help him. Even for donations, people want to help him. Yeah. So it's a lot. But
See
look,
how hard it is for us to move in a positive direction.
See,
we got to do a lot. We got to do a lot.
We got to continue this conversation later. But back to your point, reparations. I think now in today's time, I think black people are learning more about financial literacy and what to do with their money. So I think we'll be in a better place if we did get reparations. I think as far as spending the money and knowing what to do with it.
Yeah,
right.
And I also agree with that. But I just know, like, if you look at just numbers, like, I think it's definitely a consumer.
Oh yeah, we all consume.
This whole country, we're consumer.
Yeah.
All right, it's been a great conversation. Look, make sure you go in the chat or in the comments. Look, like, share, and subscribe to the Ford Social Conversations. Look, we talk about a lot of things. But not everything, because everything don't need to be talked about.
That's right.
Tune in the next time. Peace.
Peace.